What's up, everyone? Very special meeting here, episode here. I don't know what I'm calling this. The first time I'm doing it. Breaking news. I'm here joined by the brand new head of, actually, I don't know what your new title is. It's KimDynasty, Greg Kim, joining us now, formerly of Evil Geniuses, head of Esports, now joining CLG in a brand new capacity. Can you let everyone know what it is?
Yeah, the title is pretty simple. It's just head of CLG. So I'm joining Counterlogic Gaming and going to be running things over at the top of the org.
All right, so that includes everything. How's that different than your previous position?
Yeah, so at EG, I got my start as like our LCS director, building out our League of Legends program, and then over time, built that role out into director of all esports. So I was in charge of purely competitive stuff, right? Like our rosters across our titles, all of our gaming strategy and whatnot. But this role is like the whole shebang. It's that competitive stuff, but it's also, you know, your other functions of an esports org, right? It's like overseeing the marketing, overseeing the partnerships, the whole deal. So getting my hands on a little bit of everything rather than just the competitive side of the house.
So everyone at home, if you didn't know, Evil Genius is pretty well known in Dota. They also have a pretty damn good CSGO team, and then announced the first Valorant mixed gender roster team, headed up by Potter. So a lot of that had to do with you, I assume?
Yeah, certainly the Valorant team and definitely the League of Legends team. You know, I think EG's had definitely an eventful couple years, like rejoining the LCS. We actually picked up the Counter-Strike team like not too long before the EG got the LCS slot back. Mm-hmm. So had some stuff to do with Counter-Strike and Dota, but the LCS team and the Valorant ones were the ones I had a lot of my fingerprints on helping to build.
So what were some of the biggest learning lessons from the previous role that led you to believe, hey, I want to take, you know, the next step, whatever the next step would be?
Yeah, it's definitely an evolution process, because my start in esports was actually back at Riot Games working on the LCS. I was doing strategy and data analytics type work for the league, just, you know, thinking about how to make a successful league product in esports. And then in EG, that role was, you know, eye-opening, right? It was my first time being team side of the org. I got my first exposure to, like, you know, the stuff you read about in the newspaper, right? Like how do you build rosters? How do you try to build a culture? Yeah. How do you position your competitive teams in esports? So it was a really great learning experience, thinking about all those things, getting exposed to those things, seeing what it's like back of the house and behind the LCS stage, not just what's on camera. But this is the next step, right? It's taking everything I've learned there, taking everything I learned back at Riot, and trying to bridge all those things to build a successful organization and a business and evolve and grow what CLG is into whatever the next generation of what CLG looks like.
Are you replacing a person that's there, or is this a new position that's being created?
Yeah, so I'm moving in to lead the organization. The person who was formerly running CLG is actually moving up within MSG Sports. So he's back in New York. He's running everything for the Knicks, Rangers, etc. So I'm taking over the esports swing at Counterlogic and reporting back to New York.
I see, all right. You hear that, everyone? Knicks start doing well, then they hire the guy from CLG, where it's been a little bit of a rough ride over the last couple of years. Yeah. So maybe there's some hope here. How did that, how did the conversation come about, and then how long was the process of interview to acceptance?
Yeah, I mean, I heard about the role, and, you know, thinking about it, like, it made sense for a few reasons. I think one is just kind of what I spoke to, right? It's a nice next step career-wise for me, thinking about my evolution and applying what I've learned and continuing that learning path and that growth and trying to bring value to a new organization and grow a new organization. I think that's a super exciting challenge. The other part of this is, like, I grew up in New York City, right? And you know, part of this was, it was a childhood dream of mine to go and work for Madison Square Garden someday, because, like, you know, that arena is where I spent a lot of my time growing up. That Knicks team is one that I've been with through thick and thin. So in many ways, like, sports and gaming have been two of my biggest passions my whole life. That's what led me to esports to begin with, coming out of grad school. And, you know, this just seemed like an awesome opportunity. I saw a posting, I went for it, and over the course of a whole interview process, managed to land the job.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty wild story, and the fact that you're connected with that team is just like, I can't explain that kind of a position unless you've had the opportunity to run an org that also is a basketball team that also has success. So I understand. Yeah. All right, so with that, you had a couple goals while you were over at Evil Geniuses that you stated multiple times throughout your tenure there, the 1.5, 2 years I think you spent there. Yeah. One of them was building an authentic brand that the fans can relate to, starting from scratch. How do you feel like you did?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and I think like what we were doing over at AG certainly evolved over time as we got more familiar with the space and got our feet under us, and also just grew as an organization and a company, right? I think when I first joined EG, like when we started out with that, like it was eyes wide open, right? Like even thinking about competitive, we had, because of the nature of how Echo Fox left the league, we had no players or coaches or anything on contract. It was truly starting from scratch.
Yep.
So going back to your question in the brand, I'd say like, at least through my lens on the competitive side, trying to build something, I think we accomplished some of our goals of showing that we're an org that really cared about being competitively viable in the space. I think we tried to put together rosters that weren't pushovers by any means. I think we're extremely fortunate to have that second place regular season finish and third place playoff finish in the spring. And things didn't quite work out as well in summer, but we were challenging the whole way, and we're still challenging this year. So I think for the LCS audience and building the brand, I think probably the thing I'm most proud of is the pipeline that we're setting up and how we're trying to set up a system for excellence there. I think we've thought a lot, especially with Peter coming in this past year, about how to develop future talent and try to build something and give back to the ecosystem. So I'm not sure how much fan traction we got by the end at EG, but at least like a product that we're proud of, and I think folks who are paying attention, who care a lot about North American talent development and like the LCS ecosystem, hopefully something that people look at and hopefully are have some respect for or pay attention to. Because I think even this year promoting Danny and some of the other prospects we have on the way, I think there's some exciting stuff over there.
What a questionable move that was. I'm kidding. Danny, you're doing great. UG fans, it's great. That's fine. I will definitely say that the pipeline that was created by Evil Geniuses, I think, is highly successful. Combining those two topics that we just hit, what do you think of this historic brand of CLG, and how do you intend, if at all, on bringing the talent pipeline that you created, the framework that you created over at Evil Geniuses, to CLG?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, because I think, sort of what you decide to do and how you decide to structure competitive operations, like it totally depends on your identity and who you are, right? I think at Evil Geniuses, like we didn't have a core identity coming into the league fresh, right? So we quickly found like this was something that we could invest into, something that our leadership was very passionate about setting up and being a part of, and that's what fit the situation best. So I think coming into CLG, I'm coming into a new org. There are people who have been there for a while. I'm excited to work with Tafo on the ground and see just sort of what the philosophy is on the ground, what the processes currently are, and then we'll take that. I'll work at it from a high level, but of course they're specialized. This isn't like EG where it's nothing. There's already established staff and coaches, so it'll be working with them and figuring out what best fits our competitive future and what makes sense with the business and everything else we're trying to do with the org, which I'm certainly going to have my hands full with. It's not just competitive. So we'll take that and we'll see what work fits best and what's smart for us, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, one thing I would say as someone that was head of the org was you were very hands-on. I felt like you were very hands-on and very frontward facing on what you did. Every single interview, every piece, you almost always related it back to the team results, the team environment, right? And because CLG has an established system already, how are you going to shift what you've been doing for the last 2 years of being very hands-on with the competitive side to now overseeing a much larger operation?
Yeah, I think it comes down to coming in with like eyes wide open and taking a learning approach to it, right? And taking a very adaptive approach. I think something I prided myself on coming into EG, especially because I was new to competitive at that time, was thinking very holistically about how to set up good process and good communication pipelines and avoid bias in trying to manage some of these things, right? Like, we quickly built a staff when I was there. Like I had a general manager, we had a coaching staff the first year, we have an expanded coaching staff coming into the second year. So it was a lot of, for me, someone who's just like, a gold level League of Legends player, I'm not the one who's going to decide draft or what players are talented or what not. But right. For me as a leader, just trying to set up the right conversations, trying to ask the right questions and the right frameworks just to give my specialists and our expertise the right tools they need and the right communication pipelines to succeed. So I think it's going to be a bit of that at CLG. I think first it's getting a lay of the land, not just with competitive, but with everything else. I'm sure I'll have my work cut out for me, but going into it, seeing what's up, seeing what already is in place, and working to adjust and just help out and ask the right questions, I think, for starters, and then we'll see how that evolves over time.
Yeah, I mean, but this isn't just any org. You're not starting from scratch. This is CLG we're talking about, with one of the most rabid fan bases that is hungry for success, that is built on faith and has lost faith multiple times since its inception, especially since Madison Square Garden has come on in and taken control, and it hasn't really panned out in terms of results. How do you intend on changing that? What is your priorities towards changing the fan base feeling towards the team?
Yeah, that's the several $1 million question, right? I think number one, first of all, like for me, it's personally very exciting to join an org that has that LCS rooted history and that passion, right? Like, you look at some of the teams in the ecosystem that have like dedicated podcasts, or these fans who are like, willing to go out and rep your brand, like very identifiable people who are just like, yeah, I'm like a CLG fan, or yeah, I'm a fan of this other org. Like that's super exciting to me because, your audience is already kind of there, right? It's not just building the audience, it's catering to that audience. And then I think, to answer the question, like how do you do right by them? I think it's thinking about giving your fans a holistic product to stand behind, and certain fan rituals and things to be excited about, so that they feel good about being a fan of your org, right? I think that comes with, on the competitive side, thinking about how we get more wins on the Rift, or how do we get to a future outlook for the org that's exciting and gives a competitive product to be proud of. In League of Legends or in any of the other titles that we're in, I think like on the brand marketing partnership side, like there's so many things that you can do to try to just get the fans more involved, right? And let the CLG faithful know, like, hey, like you're a huge part of this experience, you're a huge asset to our org, we hear you, we really care about you, and build that culture and community around the org to really take the next step. I think that's something I always try to do internally, like just within competitive at EG, just like be an authentic gaming voice, like really care about the players, because like everyone's a gamer, right? Like we all love this space. Gaming is something that I loved my entire life, and I think extending that to the org, to the brand, to our players, to everyone, and giving a product where a team, a product, everything, where you feel like as a fan you have something to be proud of, I think is something for me to focus on. The tactics of doing that, I'm not sure. We'll see when I start the job, but I think it's just giving a core product for people to be proud of.
Yeah, definitely. And when I think about it, I don't think there's been a like head of an organization move change like this since, and maybe I'm wrong, I go all the way back to Jack leaving TSM and creating Cloud9, and then now blam, in the middle of a season too, like you had to put your 2 weeks in or something to EG, how did they take that, and did they know you were going to CLG at the time?
They didn't know at the time, but I see EG is a very professional organization, which I certainly appreciated while I was there, and it's something that I thought was a huge asset to the org while I was there, because I think EG coming into the LCS space, or coming into esports in like the modern era of EG, has really thought about how to do the right thing, how to do the professional thing. And in terms of my resignation, I put in my 2 weeks notice, and they just follow a good HR process, and we parted ways. I'm moving on to the next thing, and it's esports is a small space. I'm sure I'll see a lot of the same faces around the LCS studio, or on certain calls and in certain meetings. So looking forward to catching up with old friends once I'm in the new job.
For sure. All right, this is it. Every CLG interview I feel like you gotta address the faithful. So go ahead, look at that one right there. What do you got to say in taking over this new position in towards the future direction of CLG?
Yeah, totally. To the CLG faithful, super looking forward to coming into this role and trying to build something for the fans to be proud of. It's not lost on me that this is one of the legacy orgs in the LCS. It's one of the few that's hoisted an LCS trophy. So really doing right by the fans and evolving the org. I'm looking forward to coming in, getting on the ground, and taking the organization into its next generation and the next era. Super excited for it.
All right, there you have it, y'all. Greg Kim, the new head of CLG. You heard it here first. Thank you so much for your time, brother, and best of luck in all your future endeavors.
Thanks, man.